Got it. Okay. And we're recording. All right. Well, thank you for joining the Make Guitar podcast. It is October 10th as we're recording this. And I don't know, I think we're about 22 of these so far. How you doing, Mitch?
I think I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we didn't do one of these last week, so I was on vacation. So so we've got a lot to talk about, or not.
Yeah, it's all right. Did you have a good vacation?
It was good. Yeah. I
Awesome.
went to Colorado, visit a friend, and see the land, and we stopped at a weird bar in I don't remember the name of the town, but it was like an old west building, and this woman was listening to a lot of butt rock, as I like to call it, and she was
Butt
listening
rock,
to
like B-U-T-T or just B-U-T?
BUTT, like
Okay,
it's
okay.
like shake your butt. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't know. I think like Ted Nugent would be kind of the king of butt rock. It's just like
Oh, bad to the bone.
yeah, that kind of stuff. Like George Thorogood. It's kind of like
Yeah, oh, that's George Thorogood. Sorry. I those guys
yeah.
all run together with me.
Well, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm there.
Um, so I got that term from our friend Phil. Um, he said it once, and I was like, I can see what that is.
Yeah. It's kind of funny is I wonder if how it relates to yacht rock.
Oh well, I don't know. Yacht rock. A lot of times I think of like a corduroy, like a tan corduroy blazer with elbow patches and guy with like long feathered hair.
Hey, watch it. That also sounds very academic, like
It is. It is. It's like a studied kind of thing where like butt rock, your thoughts are not involved in the music. You're just like it's all your butt. Your butt is making the music. I don't know. That's how I see it.
nice. Yeah. King Missile has a song called, I think it's called Rock and Roll. And it just goes something like, if you think rock and roll is going to die, you're fucking crazy. Rock and roll. he just like, and he just riffs on that idea, that it's just like,
That's awesome. That is butt rock. That's true
yeah,
butt
yeah,
rock.
yeah. It's like an ode to butt rock, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Hey,
Yeah.
so,
So
oh, go on. Yeah, after you.
so I was in this bar and I heard some UFO and some other like more obscure kind of butt rock songs. And there's this woman, she wanted us to guess what she was listening to, and she had some stumpers.
Nice. Some UFO. I haven't heard any UFO in a while. Not since high school.
Yeah, I knew you would know it. I figured that would be something that was in your wheelhouse at the time.
Yeah, I think I was not like a big UFO fan, but my friends were like UFO, So there was kind of in the circle there, like I was more like a Black Sabbath kind of Rush or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then I had
Yeah.
some friends that were into
There's a
some Blue
difference.
Oyster Cult and some UFO, right?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
Blue Oyster Cult, I think, kind of straddles the line between butt rock and more like person's rock.
Yeah, I think Blue Oyster Cult
Don't
is
fear the
kind of,
reaper.
yeah, I think they're kind of weird actually. They're like a lot of the songs are like the subject matter is kind of like out there, right?
Yeah.
Like they're kind of weird into the occult or something, like, but in a weird, like weird occult, I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, like it's the way that Led Zeppelin is into weird Tolkienism. Like they're not just like a normal Tolkien band. They're kind of like um, it because it's Led Zeppelin. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, they kind of did like some weird stuff, like where they could do this weird English folk music, but then combine it with American blues. Like
Yeah.
they or not combine it, but they just do a weird English folk song followed by an American blues kind of thing.
Mhm.
I think at that time though, like actually just before Led Zeppelin, like the Beatles and the Stones, like they heard Chuck Berry and they were like, "Whoa, we want to be Chuck Berry." Like Chuck Berry was like fucking rock and roll. Like he just wrote the instruction manual, and then everybody was like, we want to do that. And then Led Zeppelin came on the tail of that, so they kind of dug deeper, and kind of got this older kind of blues thing and, added some tone bender to it, some fuzz
Right.
pedals.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment of it. The Beatles were pretty much like they had a single vision initially, and then of course they did different things down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think every band did something like that at some point. Like they had to like mix it up, diversify. Like the Clash had all this kind of reggae songs.
Yeah, actually
They
Led
diverted.
Zeppelin did like a weird kind of thing, kind of weird reggae kind of island thing. I think that was when they were on their tail end of their,
That's the last stop. I think for most bands, like you could do some island music, and then
yeah.
then you can return to doing what you used to do if you're the Rolling Stones, because they did all kinds of weird
Yeah.
island
Hey,
music.
yeah, actually, did you see that thing in the news? Like, I guess the Stones were playing somewhere, like where was it, like North Carolina or something, and um Mick Jagger goes into this small bar and like nobody recognizes him.
Oh, crazy!
Yeah, and so he just walks in. There's this, like, you have to kind of see it. I saw a picture of it, and it's like a little brick building, and it's so small, like people have to drink out front. And then it's kind of like this little, it's just like a shack basically, right? Okay. And somebody bought the plot on either side of this building, and they wanted to buy the building too for the bar and put up an apartment building, but the owner of the bar didn't want to sell it. So they built the apartment building, and it's like a U. So if the bar is here, the apartment building kind of goes on either side. It's like really tall. There's like one story here for the bar. It's just flat roof, right? Looks like a barn, and then the apartment building goes up like 5 or 6 stories, and then it's like a U shape, it goes around behind the bar.
That's
And then
crazy,
just
but it
out,
doesn't
out
go over it.
no, 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 it doesn't. Yeah. But then out in front of the bar, there's just a bunch of motorcycles, and then kind of like a porch area with kind of like a railing, so you could sit out there and you could drink on the porch. And then there's a picture I saw of Mick Jagger, and he's just standing there, and there's a guy like, 3 or 4 feet to his left, like totally looking the other way, talking with his friends, and then another guy on his right side, that is looking right at him from behind and talking to his friend who has his back to Mick Jagger. Nobody notices. And they said that the next day, like, someone pointed it out, you know, and so people were like, the guy that owns the bar was talking to the bartender and going around asking people, did you see Mick Jagger? Like, who's here? Like, oh, I recognize these people in the picture. Did you see Mick Jagger? Nobody saw him. They suspect he paid cash because they looked at the receipts and they didn't have a credit card receipt that said Mick Jagger, like, and then they said the bartender was a young person, so they probably didn't recognize him either because he's pretty old now. He doesn't look the same,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think I'd probably recognize him if I heard him talk, but if he just saw him somewhere and he didn't say anything, I mean, he probably ordered a drink. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you could see him
but
in the photo. Like he's facing the camera with the bar in the background and these other people behind him. So someone took a photo. So he had to be there with someone else because there's someone took like step back 10 feet and took or 6 feet or 10, and because you get his whole body in there with the picture of the bar in the background. So they had to go back far enough to get the whole scene.
Mhm.
So someone took the photo, right? So they could have paid for the beers too. I don't know.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty crazy though.
Yeah. On the
Because
flip,
if he did get recognized, he might have gotten mobbed.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, I feel like on the one hand, you know, who cares? It's, you know, it's Mick Jagger, neat, you know, but whatever, you know, right? Let Mick Jagger have some space, you know, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, like the Stones and Mick Jagger have been around for so many thousands of years, like maybe young people don't, it doesn't really matter if it's Mick Jagger to them, you know?
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. I mean, if you're young enough and you're not into classic rock, then it's just sort of like, oh, that's a guy who's, you know, it's a guy who's famous, but I don't listen to his music.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay.
Rolling Stones, butt rock, yacht rock, or something else?
I think the Rolling Stones, even more than the Beatles, yeah, I think they're more of a butt rock, you know, because it is
Butt
kind
rock,
of like,
okay.
I think they're a butt rock band. They're kind of like the original butt rock band. You know, think about that Brown Sugar or something like that. It's kind of like, I don't know if you saw those radio station ads where there's like a heavy guy dancing to that song in his underwear.
No,
Like,
I haven't seen. I don't want to see that.
it was used to advertise like butt rock radio stations, including the one in Minneapolis that everybody listened to, called KQRS.
Okay.
So yeah, I kind of like that's where I go with when I think of the Rolling Stones in that question. I mean, they are like a blues rock band like Led Zeppelin, but so is Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
They're a
Okay.
different, you know, they have other things as well going on.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so now we got that covered, you know.
Yeah, what is butt rock?
Yeah.
That should be the title of this video. I think it will.
Yeah.
What
Is butt rock? So
like
what's
you're
our
thinking
next
with
topic?
your butt. How about if you could choose to play only one pedal, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a hard question. Like if you just had one pedal.
Yeah, you could only use one pedal, and
Well,
it
I mean,
wouldn't be
like I
like a
guess
multi-effects pedal.
I
It'd just be
just
like a
was
single
thinking of that,
function.
you know.
Yeah.
You take your multi-effects unit because you're like, okay, I have multiple effects. But what if you just had to choose one effect? So the multi-effects one is maybe cheating. Let's say I want to go for like some kind of fuzz, but I think what I would do is a delay
Oh, okay, that's a good choice.
because, and I'll tell you why, because I like the fuzz or distortion because you could get a lot of sounds out of it. It could be fun, but I feel like if you had the delay, if you just had one pedal, like like you might be able to get some fuzz out of your amp or some overdrive from the amp. Maybe you didn't say you have to choose one amp, right? But
Right.
you might be able to do that. And then the other thing is with the delay, I feel like you could also like play along with yourself, or you could do, there's like a lot of weird little things you can do with the delay. Like you could get kind of some reverby kind of effects, and you could get some, depending on what delay you chose, you could get some really interesting delay effects, you know,
Right.
long and short delay. You could get like one of those multi-tap delays, you know. I feel like there's more, you'd have more fun with that, you know, over a longer period of time. Like the fuzz, you might run out of things to do with it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, running out of things to do with it, I think that's the reason that people have lots of pedals in the first place. It's because you always want to be trying something different.
Yeah.
But you know, when
Maybe
I
on the
thought
other
about
hand,
that question,
yeah,
oh, go
maybe
ahead.
on the other hand though, like if you just took like an overdrive, something simple, like maybe you just get back to making music, like, and you wouldn't worry about the pedal, you know, because you're like, I only got this one pedal, you know, so I'm gonna turn it on or turn it off, and I'm gonna make music. You know, if you have lots of pedals, you tend to swap them out and try different things with the pedals, and you're not making music when you're doing that, you know.
Right. Well, it's like our friend Dan says, when you have one of those multi-effects units, you don't play the guitar. You just spend all your time going through the patches.
Or
It's
if it's
like,
like
you know,
that one, if it's like that one you have, you spend a lot of your time like kicking it and hitting it and trying to get it to turn on. Right. You know, or program it, you know, you're like, how does this work
yeah,
again? Where's the manual? You know?
yeah. You're cycling through all the menus to like change little things or equalize the volume between all the patches or do something.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
soon
right.
as you switch to a new patch, it's like, oh my, now I have to adjust my amp or something. So,
Yeah.
so,
So what would your pedal be?
well, I thought about it, and I thought about, like a reverb, because, like just the guitar with some reverb, that's a good sound. But I think, uh, like a lot of like all of my amps have some kind of reverb or delay. Um, so it really came back to fuzz, and like I don't use a lot of fuzz, but like that Vulcan, it runs the gamut between overdrive and fuzz. And I'm kind of thinking, like, if you're playing with a band, you just want something that you can kind of uh, bring your volume up, but you don't need a lot of reverb and delay. In a lot of music, a lot of recorded music by bands, you don't you don't really hear a lot of wet sounds. You can play pretty dry, um, depending on the genre, but a lot of the kind of the classics, playing with just some drive or some fuzz and not a lot of additional effects. And it's a sound that I'm kind of been kind of trying to get into more recently. More dry, more fuzz, just kind of a brittle, like short, sustained, less noise.
Hmm.
Kind of
Yeah,
what I'm
there's
trying
something
to.
about the delay that's kind of nice because just the guitar without it, you kind of feel kind of, like you're kind of alone, you're out there out in front, but like with a little bit of delay, there's some ambience or something, and you feel like you're kind of in something. I don't know how to describe it, but like, you're like, okay, great. There's a little bit of tail there. I have a little bit of echo in the background. Something's filling in the space, like it doesn't have to be strong. You could have just like the blend is turned down, but there's a little something there.
Oh, I agree, and I know like Paul Gilbert had said that as well, and for himself, he's a pretty phenomenal player. That he feels kind of naked without having some kind of a delay or reverb sound.
Yeah, right. So what would your pedal be though?
I think I'm gonna stick with the fuzz. I think it's
Okay.
like I can get a little bit of you know reverb from my amp, or if I didn't, from being in large enough space. Um, but yeah, I know I think we're taking opposite sides of this argument than we normally would, because you've always been a big fuzz guy, and like your primary amp doesn't even have reverb, does it?
No, yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's so much of an argument. It's just sort of a choice,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right? Yeah, nice.
yeah. But I think I've always kind of like I think my first pedal was a reverb pedal.
Oh, funny. I
It
don't
was
think I would
probably the
ever have.
RB3, which I have now.
Oh, cool. That's actually a really cool pedal to start with, just to have a first pedal. Like that's kind of a weird one. I would never have chosen that as a first one, but I think it's a kind of a cool choice.
Yeah, I was into different stuff then. I was really into kind of more ambient kinds of music. Um, I liked David Sylvian in Japan, Japan, Japan.
Yeah.
So yeah, reverb and delay was kind of my preferred
Yeah.
way.
Actually, that pedal, if you chose one of those like that as your only pedal, that would be kind of fun because you'd get reverb and delay,
Yes.
which would be kind of cool, right? Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great pedal.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, so I was surfing the internet today and I ran into Tangerine Dream on the internet, which I thought was kind of funny because like, oh, obviously they're there in some form, but what I ran into was a video of them And then I realized they had their own Tangerine Dream YouTube channel. And so I go to the channel and I realized they just have a few videos there. Like they just started this channel, but they've been around since the 60s or 70s, which is kind of funny, right? So I checked out their channel, you know, and then I found their website and I realized they'd been putting out music like constantly, even through the 2000s, you know?
I mean, I remember hearing about Tangerine Dream for the first time. I think it was like my first year of college, so like in '87, and yeah, it's just I liked it. It was cool. It went with the other things that I liked at that time, but it definitely felt like adult music. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't poppy like a lot of the stuff in the '80s. It definitely felt like more grown up, like it was more of a project.
Yeah, it kind of has this intellectual feel to it because it's like, you know, it doesn't have like verse, chorus, bridge kind of structure. It's just kind of like this ambient, like, you know, electronic arpeggios or something, you know, that go on forever. And then there's like a filter sweep that lasts for 30 seconds, you know, like, and it's all like electronic, you know.
I'm actually looking forward to listening to that now that you've brought them up.
Yeah.
To see how they've changed.
Yeah, you know, I the last, like a week or two ago, it was like on the 1st, it was the Bandcamp Friday, like on October 1st, I think. You know, this was the first Friday of the month. All the you know, the artists get 100% of the money, right? So I was like, you know, I'm gonna just spend some money on Bandcamp. So I I bought a bunch of records, and I was kind of into this electronic thing because I was trying to work on some electronic stuff, like, you know, with the soldering iron. So I was just listening to some electronic music to go with it, right? And so I bought some albums, and I bought like some of this stuff from a guy. His name is like Zero F, you know, right? And he does a lot of like kind of this weird 8-bit kind of stuff.
Okay.
You know, so I feel kind of guilty because like I bought like all of his records, but I only paid $15 because he had like a lot of them were like choose your own price. So I was just like, I'll pay $1 for this and $1. But I bought the whole collection, right? I just bought it all, you know. And then I bought some other ones too. There's another guy, E. Lynch, who does some cool like kind of ambient like Eurorack stuff. He's got a great YouTube channel too, like with these. It's hard to describe, but it's like he does a performance with the Eurorack synthesizer. You know, so it'll just be the synth. It'll just be like the synth, and you'll just see his hand come in and turn a knob or move a slider or something. You know,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually, and the music is pretty good. So I think he does a really good job of it. He's like, as far as of YouTube synth music people go, I think he's like one of my favorite, you know.
Okay, I'll check it out. I like that, you know, he's actually interacting with it because I see quite a few channels, or maybe it's videos from the same guy, but like what does he call it? Like he sets up his system so he doesn't have to interfere with it at any point. So it's like uninterrupted, or no, I can't remember the term that he uses, but like he basically just sets up the synthesizer and then just lets it do its thing for 2 hours. So it's generative. It's not like repeating stuff, but like,
yeah.
I mean, you have to set it up so that it will create some human-like elements, you know, where it changes certain things over time. Otherwise, it's not going to be interesting to humans.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, yeah, right. Because, you know, like on the one hand, you know, you can make the music and you choose the notes, and it's very like deterministic. Like you pick what's going to go on, you know, and when it's going to happen, and things like that. You know, I mean, it's hard to say exactly like what notes are going to play when, you know, like how fast they're going to play, like when like a filter is going to come in. Like you could control everything, and you could play the notes too on a keyboard, right? You know, or some other type of instrument, right? And then there's like a bunch of like generative stuff, and you could have some hand in how that stuff works, right? So you could control like when something's going to be random and when it's not going to be random. You know, you could control when you hear a certain voice or something, or, you know, you could control the fade between one voice and a second voice, you know, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the thing where like you're hands off and the whole thing runs by itself. And there's some like weird, I think some people see a kind of a holy grail in that, like if you can get like a generative patch that creates a whole, you know, a whole piece, you know, by itself. I, you know, again, that comes back to the thing I've said before, is I'm not sure that that's music. You know, it's sound, it's art, maybe. I don't know exactly if it's music though, you know, I don't know how to describe my feelings on that, you know. It is
Yeah.
interesting, you know, but is it musical composition? You know, I'm not sure. Sometimes maybe, sometimes not, you know, even though people maybe, they get to decide what they call it. Like if you, you know, if you make something, you get to say whether it's music, I suppose, you know, like whether I think it's music or not is my opinion, you know.
Right. Yeah. I probably have looked up what is music recently, like more recently than I should admit, because I can't remember what it is. But like if if you enjoy it, like if you made some totally generative piece that, or a setup that could just play for an eternity without you having to interfere with it, and you enjoy it, you know, like you use it to work to, you do the dishes, you know, or you use it to get sleep or whatever. I think that that could be considered musical. But well, it's like you said, you know, music is it means different things to different people. It's like
Yeah.
some to some people it's scratchy and annoying, and it sounds like noise, and you know,
Yeah.
sometimes I like that. Sometimes I like that as
Yeah. Oh
music
yeah.
as a soundtrack.
Yeah, for sure. Right. So I think sometimes that can be really cool, like super neat, you know, right?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me like of the beginning of like the whole synthesizer era, you know, like you had Wendy Carlos on the on the East Coast, right? And she recreated classical music, but essentially they had the Moog synthesizer, which played a single voice, and she played every note of each voice in this, you know, classical composition. Like, so she did Switched on Bach. It was a huge hit, massive selling record, just put the synthesizer on the map. You know, Wendy Carlos was totally famous. And then it was a like pieces of music that couldn't be reproduced live,
Mhm.
right? Or they could, I think they did a couple live performances, but it was next to impossible to reproduce this because, you know, essentially you'd have to patch the synthesizer, adjust all the knobs, play one voice, patch the synthesizer, adjust the knobs, tune it again, play a voice, because they were notoriously finicky on how they got tuned, you know, right? The oscillator would drift as the machine warmed up and stuff, you know. Um, and so
So you need an
like
orchestra to do it.
well, yeah, but she's playing music that people traditionally and you know would listen to live, right? So like they heard it and they were like, "Oh, this is amazing! Of course you could play this live because that's what we always hear this live," you know. And then like not realizing that the whole thing had to be meticulously multi-tracked, right? You know, like to the like a crazy degree, right? And then on the West Coast, you had a bunch of people like working with the Buchla synthesizer, right? And the Buchla was the whole generative music thing, and so they would just set it operating, and they'd have these like drug parties, you know, with like they'd open for the Grateful Dead and stuff like that, or people that were involved with the Grateful Dead would go to these like, you know, these parties, and they people be smoking pot, and they just have the synthesizer going you know, in the background, and it could run itself, you know, and you could just twist a knob every once in a while, and you know the sound would change, you know. And so they could do that live, but then it was never a thing where people listened to it and said like, oh, that's live music, let's, you know, let's go have a concert, you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like the band Suicide, they were, you know, they were kind of like a band that took advantage of that that ability of West Coast synthesizers. Although aren't they're from the East Coast, are they not?
Yeah, I think they're later though. So this was like, we're talking like the 60s, early 70s, you know, and like Suicide's going to come along like almost when we get to the 80s, I think. And then they're like, you know, like by then you could get like commercial synthesizers for cheap, you know, like, you know, drum machines and things like that, you know. You'd have people making house music and they're like, hey, I need a band, but I can do it with a box, you know.
Okay, yeah, they came out in um, around 1970.
Oh, 70. Wow, they're pretty early then.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't realize they were
not
so
as early
early.
as I maybe I thought, but
You know, yeah, I kind of wonder about them. Yeah, but they're kind of a weird one because I pictured them being more like coming out of the punk rock era, you know, or post punk or something, you know.
yeah. Well, I think they're associated with punk, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting how like like the East Coast synthesis or the um, well, it's more similar to like what's her name, Delia Derbyshire. Like, it's
Okay. Oh, yeah.
really difficult to be spontaneous with with music like that, and you have to make each note painstakingly. And nowadays, people just think of synthesis as being this instant thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Funny. Yeah. Hey, so I got another question. Let's change the subject here. So I've been working on a project. Let me tell you about this project I got, right? Like, so let me dig it out of the trash because I'd thrown it away.
The trash, okay.
So I got a bunch of these. I got a bunch of these circuit boards made in China, you know, at this service called PCBWay, right? I kind of drew a big X on them because they're not, they don't work. I kind of screwed them up.
Uh,
I made these and then I had them manufactured and I was trying this other service and I built one and then I realized I had made a mistake and so it doesn't work. There's a mistake on the board. So I'm going to fix it and send it back. But it was kind of an interesting experience. Like I used a different service. I usually use the Osh Park, which is in the States, and their service, it's like, it's kind of interesting because the cost is like, it's like $5 a square inch or something like that, you know. So it cost me for 3 boards like this, it's about like, it was like about $15 or something, right? So these are about $5 each for 3 on Osh Park. But at PCBWay in China, it's like $5 for like 10 boards, right? So it's a lot cheaper, right? And their service is pretty good. You can choose the color. So I had these done in red, you know. You could pick yellow, green, black, purple. I forget if they had another color, but and you can also get matte, you know, instead of the shiny, you know.
oh wow, okay.
So they have a lot of options. They have a lot more options. But the downside is shipping is more expensive, right? It's coming from China. So it's like, it costs a lot. They got to ship it overseas, right? So it was like shipping was like 10 to, it was like 11 to like $20 or more. But still, it was actually kind of a little bit cheaper because, like, depends on how many you needed. Like, if you just needed 3 boards, Osh Park, the shipping is free, but it was about $15, you know, right? But for PCBWay, it cost me $5 plus $11 shipping. So for $16, I could have 10 boards, right?
And
So
the shipping wouldn't go up until you ordered quite a few of them, right?
I think after 10, it goes, the cost of manufacture goes up, it jumps again, right? They have kind of these break points. So, so anyway, I just had 5 boards made anyway, and then it doesn't matter because I kind of flubbed it. So I fixed these, and then I'm going to send them back, and try and do another run. I built this one and then it wasn't working, and I got out my multimeter and I was poking around, and then I realized I flubbed something. I made a couple other mistakes too, like some of the footprints for the parts on the board were not the right size, so I had to kind of squeeze some parts in. So in the revision of the board, I kind of moved some parts around so they're kind of got a little more space, you know.
Okay. And are you going to recycle those parts, reuse those parts, or some of
Uh,
them even?
You know, I don't know if I'm going to pull the parts off this. I pulled off the pots because I figured I could reuse these. So I pulled these out, and then I pulled the LED off of there because I have this nice little, it's like a white LED. It's just bright white. And I kind of liked it. So I pulled that one out because it was the last one I had in that color. But the rest of this, I don't know if it's too much trouble to pull it off there. I might just, throw it out.
Yeah.
I had the board.
I guess if they're 10 cents apart. Or 1 cent
Yeah, I know
apart.
it's pretty cheap, right? So I made this new box right here, and it was looking really good too, and then it didn't work. So, they also offer another service where you can get the parts, like if you use surface mount parts, they'll do the soldering too. Like they'll get the parts and solder them on there. So I'm working on a board with those parts. I'm not very familiar with that. So I'm trying to design a board that'll have the parts all mounted on it. And then I'm going to see how much it costs to manufacture it and have them do all of the, all the soldering and stuff,
That's cool. So what pedal are you making?
Oh, this is like, basically it's kind of the Big Muff without the tone control, I called it the Morbid Fur. It came out kind of good. I use this like sand kind of texture, like powder coat,
Oh, I like it.
I don't know if you can see it there, but let me see here, right? There we go, right? Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think it came out great, and then it didn't work. So I was kind of disappointed, But yeah, so that was my project. And then the other thing is I sent them another board. I'm going to try and do some of those ugly faces. So I sent some boards in to have those manufactured. I hope that one I did a better job on putting it together. So hopefully there won't be any mistakes on that one.
Well, good. How many are you going to have made?
I ordered 10 of that other board. Okay. And then I'm going to try, maybe later today, I'll order some more of these,
All right. Well, you're really going into production then.
Well,
Morbid Fur.
I know. Yeah, right. Well, that's kind of the thing is like, you can order 10 and it costs you $5. You can order 5 and it costs you $5, right? So yep. I ordered only 5 the first time, which was smart, I guess, in hindsight, because they didn't work, right? But I mean, maybe I could get these boards to work if I scratched off some traces and ran a jumper, but forget it. Too much work, right? I'm trying to set this up. I'm going to set these up so they're like that PCBWay has kind of a shared section. So like when I get these working, I'll put them on there in their shared section, and then if people want to order their own boards, they can do that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's very generous of you. Helping out the community.
Yeah, I sold a pedal too, right? Just recently on Reverb too, which was kind of good. And then what's cool is the guy paid full price. He didn't try and lowball me, right? It was like, I think it was one of these actually. I think it was one of these pedals. I sold it, and they paid. It was like, I think I charged $140 or something plus like $10 shipping, right? And then so I got like $130 or something, $138 from Reverb, because they took 5%, right? So that wasn't too bad. And then I made one of those like what was it? It's like the parentheses fuzz, Like I made one of these, right?
Oh yeah.
Like giant pedal, lots of knobs, big box. It's got 3-foot switches. This thing sounds mighty too. It sounds really good. And I wanted like $200 for one of those, right? Because, I figure like my pricing is like, it cost me about $35 in parts to put one of these together. Maybe someone with a production facility could do it cheaper, but just the way that I buy the parts and stuff, it costs about $35, right? So if I charge 4 times that, then it's $140, right? Right. And and then that's like, I'm making some profit. I'm paying for the stuff. I'm paying some labor, right? Mm-hmm. So these cost about $65 for the big pedal, right? This costs me about 65 bucks in parts, like the way that I do it. Like I have to pay for the box is like 13 bucks. These switches are like $3 to $5 each. That's another 10. The pots, the knobs, you know, like everything costs money. So 3 times that is like almost 200 bucks. If I tried to sell that for 200 and some guy offered me 140 and I was just like, screw you. I didn't even counter offer on that. It was too low. I was just like, forget you, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. You can't get, well, you can get cheaper pedals like Behringer and stuff like that, but or the Chinese made pedals, but like an American made pedal, especially something with 3 stop switches on it and a bunch of knobs.
I know, man, it just costs money, Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm not saying like, like as a consumer, like the value, the $200, like, like you might get a cheaper pedal and it would be just as good for you as a consumer for less, right? So you could get a used pedal or you could get like a cheap pedal, a cheaper pedal, not cheaper quality, but just cheaper cost wise, right? You could get one of those for like $100 or something, or $50 or whatever it is, whatever you paid for it, right? Or you could get like 3 like of those little mini pedals for like $120 or something, right? And maybe that's a better deal for you, but like for me, like building and selling them, like I can't sell them that cheap and then feel like it's worth my time. Like, if I was selling them that cheap, it's just like, it's almost like I'm giving them away, which is like not good.
No, it's not good for your, it's your hobby. It's not your business.
Yeah.
It
So
should feel good.
yeah. So actually, speaking of giving them away, I told you I gave Casey's band one of the pedals, and then I gave him another one too, because they were like, we really want a crazy sounding something that sounds like a ring modulator or something, and then, like, and I have a collection of ring modulators, and none of like I want the ring modulator too, but it just doesn't sound musical. Like you can't. It's really hard to do something musical with it. So I gave him an ugly face, So I don't know. I gave it to him today. I don't know what they're gonna say about it. Like.
I think they'll like it. It doesn't seem as well. It's not the most musical pedal in my opinion, but it's definitely more. I could see it being in like an intro or
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's easier to get the ugly face into a song than it is to get the ring modulator into a song,
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, it depends. Like there's a couple ring modulators that you can do a lot with, like you could make them sound like a tremolo or some more like kind of normal sounds out of them. Some will do that,
Right. Yeah, but of course, then it depends on the range of the device.
Yeah,
I have one of. I bought a phaser, like a cheap Chinese mini pedal phaser, and who makes it right now, but it's got 3 knobs. It's a 3-knob phaser, whereas like the MXR is a 1-knob phaser. But I thought that having the ability to adjust the range would allow me to make it like a really slow sweep. It doesn't. It's basically just makes it so you can make it really fast. So
Oh, that's funny.
slow, or like its slowest setting is kind of like normal for a phaser.
Huh, that's funny. Yeah, because I actually don't like the super fast speed. I like the slow speed. If I could have the slower speed, I'd prefer to have that. I think it would, for me, it'd be more musical,
Yeah.
like more
So I
subtle.
guess I guess if I could kind of modify this pedal, that's what I would do. I would have that, and that's something that you don't get the
You might be
choice.
able to do that. What kind is it?
I don't know. It's a mini pedal.
Huh. It might be hard to modify then.
Yeah, I think it probably would. I haven't opened it up, but
Yeah. What brand is it?
oh, hold on a second. All right. It's an Azor. It's an Azor phaser.
Azor, Phasor.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's got the feedback knob, which I guess is the knob that you get if you buy like the MXR version, and then it's got a speed knob, and it's got a width knob, which I guess is sort of like depth, but maybe with phase, it's a better word to use for it. But anyways, I like it. It's fine. But if I could make a mod, I would have the speed go a lot slower than it does at the default.
Yeah. If it's an analog one, you could probably mod it. I'm kind of doubting that if they put it in such a small case, though. You know,
Right.
I'm kind of thinking it might be like have some digital or DSP kind of like control on it, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Right. Yeah, I don't seem to have a screwdriver within reach right now, but I'll
Well,
take a
we
look
can
at
look at it later. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like me some phase shifter though. I think phase shifter is a good effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I kind of went away from those kinds of modulation pedals for a while. I think I'm having kind of like an 80s revival, you know, that like that pure flange sound is kind of bringing me back.
Yeah. Actually, I like some flange too at the slow rate.
Yeah.
You know, I like that there's a Catlin Bread makes a flanger. It's just got 2 foot switches on it. And the idea is like you turn it on with 1 foot switch, and then the other foot switch makes the phaser sweep in one direction. And when you take your foot off, it sweeps back.
Oh, that's cool. That
Right.
sounds
So
very cool.
it's not moving until you press the foot switch down.
Right.
And then it's like, and then when you take your foot off, it's like, it goes back the other way. And it's kind of cool. I wish there was just like a little bit of control on it, like maybe like a depth control, and then like something to control like how fast the sweep goes, you know? So if it just had a little bit of that, that would be kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Otherwise I like it, you know, but it's not not a super favorite pedal, but
Okay. Did you see a demo of it?
yeah, I think I did. Yeah. And then I bought one and then I used it a couple
you did?
times.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've used
I
it
was looking for a
before.
pedal that I saw recently it was on Alan Eden's guitar in one of their emails, and it's a 3 switch pedal, and it had 3 different effects in it. But I can't find it right now. After we talked about our, like, if you had one pedal, it's like, I gotta find this thing. It's, I don't know. I forgot how much it was. It seemed like something that it's like if you didn't have a lot of space on your pedal board, having a pedal like that does 3 functions, overdrive and maybe compression. I can't remember what it was, but
Yeah. There's a couple, like this parentheses fuzz is kind of like an overdrive and an octave and a boost. It's got like 3 functions. It's pretty good, you know. Those I think it's JHS, maybe they make a thing called the VCR, and it's like vibrato, chorus, and reverb in one pedal. It doesn't have a switch to turn on each separately. It's kind of like they're all on, and you can adjust the level of each effect, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I mean, I would prefer having the individual control. It's kind of like what you're saying about this this flanger that unflanges when you let off the pedal. It's like that's the idea behind that, is giving you more expression, but like you also want to be able to control it. That's kind of the difficulty when you're building something that people are going to operate with. Like no one is turning knobs with their feet.
I'm not turning any knobs with my feet are too clumsy.
Right.
I can barely
Even
turn
those
knobs
toe
with my
shoes.
hands, you know, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they're like all the way down on the floor, you don't have to like bend over.
I know, right? You know,
While
like
you're playing guitar.
I know, right? My hands are busy, man. Knobs, you got to turn yourself. Someone, you know, I'm not taking care of you.
Get Chase
Right?
Bliss in here to turn the have self-turning knobs.
Yeah. I've seen they make a little thing you can put, like you can replace the knob with this little thing. It's like it kind of looks like a Y. And then so you can kick it like one way or another with your foot, you know?
Oh, okay.
MXR made those kind of rubber things that it was kind of big fat rubber thing that sat on top of the knob. And so you could kind of turn it with your foot, you know? I think Maestro made some pedals. They came in kind of a weird aluminum case that was kind of wedge shaped. And one of them had like a big disc on the top. So if you put your foot down on it, you could turn it like this, like
Okay.
left and right, you know? And then they made another one that had like, imagine like it's kind of disc shaped and it had two wheels on the side. And so you could put your foot across the wheel and kind of rotate it, you know? So those
I
were
mean,
kind of cool
those.
ideas, but I don't think that they were taking the industry by storm, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they seem sort of. Well, I mean, they're just big. They're the feet need a big interface, whereas your hands are a lot more dexterous. But like, having a treadle like on a wah-wah pedal, that's about as articulate as a foot can be. It's like that's why people can play organ pedals while they're playing.
Oh, good point. Yeah,
It's
yeah, I think
like
you're
a lot
right.
of guys are standing up. You're already using your feet to stand up on, and so they're supporting the weight. And then you're trying to do something like turn the knob. You're not gonna have the fine control, or it's gonna send you over the top, and you're going to be in this. It's gonna make a terrible noise. And I don't know. That my worry is that you'd over adjust something, and then you turn your volume off because it was initially too loud or whatever. If you start messing around with foot adjustments,
Yeah, I think you're right.
even
When
like
it
a
comes
volume
to
pedal, it's pretty hard to get the right spot.
yeah, I think you're right. I think when it comes to these like you know guitar pedals, like when it comes to foot control, you know the ones that are making it that are popular that people are buying and using and are mainstays are like in that format of the wah pedal. It's just like a big treadle that you can put your foot on. So like the Digitech whammies, like super popular, people like that. It's got a big treadle on it. You know, volume pedals are pretty popular. You know, the wah pedal is like huge popular, you know. But the Maestro pedals didn't really catch on. Could be some other reasons, I don't know, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think well, I think Meister also made it's like this. What's it called? It was a rhythm machine. I think it was called like Sound and Rhythm or something like that. And there's a band called The Kills that uses one. It's their drum sound. It's their drummer, and I think it might have some foot switch operation. I'll have to look it up, but it's uh, somebody in one of my bands brought that up. Like you need a drum machine that has the ability to stop when you hit a button with your foot. Because if your hands are busy with playing the guitar, you can't very well be stopping to push the stop button with your hand.
Hmm. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, drum machine you could like control with your foot. It's kind of a good idea.
Yeah, if it doesn't exist, well, I'm sure it does.
Yeah, I'm
If
sure.
you
Yeah.
know of a good drum machine, if you're watching this, and you know of a good drum machine that is foot operated, post it in the comments.
Yeah, we need one.
Okay, so I think that was called the Rhythm and Sound
Huh,
by
okay.
Maestro. It was made in the 60s.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not familiar. Actually, speaking of that, I just ordered some circuit boards and a panel to build a Euro rack kind of drum machine. Right? It's just like it's like this Euro rack thing. It's kind of like some small time manufacturer guy. He kind of sells some kits, right? And so it's not a kit, it's just basically the circuit boards and the panel. So I'll have to get all the rest of the parts myself. But it basically, it has all the drums in it, but it's kind of like old school, like I forget what it's based on, some machine, right? That's called the ADC 110 or something like that. Some Japanese kind of sounds like a drum machine on like a Casio or some electronic drums, because it's all the drums are electronic. They're not sampled, so they're made with some, square waves or triangle waves or noise or something like that, and some kind of an envelope, but it has like a bunch of trigger or gate inputs for each of the instruments, and it has like, bass drum, snare drum, cymbal, open, closed hi-hat, and a clap. So it has like 6 instruments, and then they're all mixed to the output and some controls to kind of set what they sound like, or the range of the sounds that you're getting.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know why I just saw it and I was like, maybe I'll buy this and build it because it'll be kind of a fun project to build. It didn't look too difficult. The parts didn't look unobtainium or hard to get, so I kind of gauged it and I thought like, oh, I could build one of these and it'll cost me like, 60, $70. It won't cost that much,
That sounds like fun. And it would be like you aren't able to make any presets with it, right? It's like you just use it like any other rack module where you
Yeah, okay.
plays what the knobs do.
Yeah. So you can't preset. It actually doesn't play itself. You have to send gates and triggers in to make the sounds come out of it. So it just makes the sound. It's like the voice. I have another module that I built as a kit that's pretty cool. It's got like it's called the Sweet 16. It's by this company Robo, or it's like ROBAUX,
Okay.
right? And basically it's got like a little button pad of like 4x4, and then it has a little 4x4 grid of jacks. And so it's got 16 channels, and then every channel you can program on the grid. So imagine like when it's running, the little, like each of the little buttons on the grid light up like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like it goes through each row. And so you can turn on the drums like by turning on the points on the grid, and then you can program each of the 16. So like maybe like, like your bass drum goes on the 1, like boom, boom, every 4 beats, right? Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, right? And then you could make the snare drum hit on the off beats, right? And then you could have a ride cymbal or do something else, right? So I figured I could use that with this other thing to trigger it, So I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, that sounds perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
that's similar to the interface on the Volca. I mean, of course, they're all in a row.
Yeah. Oh, it's got like 16. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's similar. Yeah. You know, I wish I could show the thing. It's kind of in the rack over there. It's hard to pull it out, but it's kind of cool. It was a kit too, so I just built it myself. It worked pretty good. So, um, I've used it with a sampler, like to trigger the sampler. But then I thought like, oh, maybe I'll build this drum module for fun, and then I can put it together with this other thing.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I mean, it sounds like pretty labor-intensive way to make beats, but it's a labor of love when you're making music.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
just show the
It,
this is
yeah.
the sound with the rhythm and sound by Maestro. So a little bit of a different interface.
Oh, funny. So does that have a bunch of built-in beats? So you just press a button to get a particular kind of beat?
Um, not no, it looks like these are different instruments. So like it has bass drum, bongo, brush, tambourine, clav, uh, string bass, fuzz bass. Uh, I don't know. I can't read
Huh.
all of them because they're like on white or gold. But I think I think maybe what it does is it, well, I don't know, I have to read about it, but it's got a input sensitivity. So I think that maybe you plug your guitar into it, um,
Weird,
and it maybe follows along. I'm not sure.
strange. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how you program it to play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only familiar with it because of the band The Kills, and
Yeah.
they have a pretty cool, like, stripped down sound. Basically that thing and two guitarists and vocals.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. I'm gonna go check them out later.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's see. So what else are you working on? You working on any projects? You got anything going on?
Yeah, I haven't done anything in the last week, but I finished, like, I routed the cavity for the bridge pickup on my P bass, and I'm gonna um
Oh, cool.
I
How'd
bought
that
like
come out?
a precision. Oh, it came out okay. I mean, it's a little rough on the bottom, but no one's gonna see that.
Yeah.
Um, and I have to go and get some of those inserts because I'd like to use machine screws to fasten the pickups in.
I have a bunch. I could give you some. I bought a bunch and like you use like 2 or 3 and then, but you got to buy like 10 or 20. So I have a few spares.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, if I can't find them, I mean, you're way out there by the beach, but if I
Yeah.
can't find any at my local hardware store, I'll try.
I looked at the hardware store and you can get them there, but then they don't have all the sizes. They'll have like 2 sizes, or something, or they'll have like some really big ones and you're like, I want a small one, and they don't have it, or they'll have like 2 different sizes and none of them are the size that you want, or that's my experience. So I ordered them on like the internet, like eBay or something, and got some there.
Well, yeah, I'll see if they have them at my local, but I have fear that that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
And the
And
other
lately,
thing that I still have to
oh yeah,
do
go on.
on
Yeah.
this is I bought like a regular precision shape, like the neck is like a regular precision. So I'm going to trim this down into sort of a 51 eBay style. It's not a lot of wood to take off. So I think I can do that with my saber saw and just
Saber saw.
sanding it down. But,
Some
or
sandpaper.
whatever, my jigsaw.
Yeah.
Just sand it down, sandpaper.
Yeah, get some sandpaper when you're done.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know what I did lately is, just speaking of parts and stuff, I've been buying parts from China on AliExpress. It's kind of like you're just buying directly from the factory, so it's all really cheap, but then you have to wait. And like, I should have taken a picture of this, but I bought a bunch of stuff and it came in this plastic bag with like a rubber band around it. Like the wrapping was terrible, And then it's kind of hard to tell what you're getting sometimes. Generally, I get the stuff that I asked for, right? But then I ordered some parts and it wasn't like couple of the parts were like not what I thought they were, but they were cheap, so it didn't cost anything, So I've been trying to order stuff that way just to see how cheap I can get it,
Yeah, I think that once you figure out how to get the product that you want, as opposed to just it being a crapshoot, then you can reorder. But yeah, if you're relying on stuff to be correct the first time, you're kind of taking a risk.
Yeah, Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I bought a bunch of stuff. I got some of these cables for the Eurorack thing. These were like pretty cheap.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I have some spares, Of course, like you have to buy like 10. I only need like 2, but they were pretty cheap, so I just bought a pack of 10, And then I bought a bunch of these jacks. I don't need all these, but like they were cheap. And then they sell them like, pack of 50, and so you're like, okay, I'll just buy 50 because they're only like $5 or something,
Yeah. Well, you'll definitely use them all eventually.
Hopefully, yeah, right. That's the goal, right? But anyway, so I got some of that. I ordered some capacitors and some other things, They're cheaper than like Tita, and I almost feel like the shipping is probably going to be the same time because it's so slow. Like Tita is so slow, I figure like they're getting all this stuff from China anyway. Like they're probably getting it and then just reselling it to other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I ordered some other things too. I got some of these like RGB LEDs, so they light up in different colors. You can kind of make them light up in like, you know, like one LED could just be any color, you know.
That's really cool. I'm sure you have some idea what you're going to use them for, but it seems like there's a lot of room for creativity there. You could, you know, maybe have something that had different states, like a pedal that had different button states or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I was playing around with the Arduino. Like it's like kind of a microcontroller, like you can program it and have it do stuff, you know. So like I was got the RGB LEDs for that, you know, so we'll see what happens, you know. I was thinking about guitar effects too, you know, like and there's a range of effects on the synthesizers, like on the Eurorack stuff that are very popular now. It's called granular, right? So granular synthesis, and it's kind of like imagine like delay, except the delays are like kind of shortish, but then they kind of have maybe an envelope so they can fade one into the next. And you know, there's a lot of adjustment, like how much of the grain you're gonna play back. And I thought like, oh, that'd be kind of a weird thing. Could you make a guitar pedal that was kind of granular, like a granular delay or granular, you know, kind of effect for guitar, you know? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that
I think
anybody's
that
done
there
that.
are such things. I don't know. I feel like I've heard of some granular delay effects, but can't think. Again, if you're watching and you have information about granular guitar effects, put them in the comments.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's done one of those, or I haven't seen one yet. So anyway, just that's something, you know, that, you know, could happen in the future. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but if someone's going to do that, I think, you know, it could be interesting. Hey, should we call it a wrap?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, did you want to tell us what you've been listening to on Bandcamp, or have you already pretty much covered that?
Oh, I
You
think
did
we've
buy
already
some
covered
stuff.
that. Yeah, I think we covered it. You know, I bought some music and I was listening to like Zero F and E
Zero F,
Lynch.
E
You
Lynch.
know,
Okay, I'm just gonna throw in Astrobal. I don't know how you say it, but it looks like it's ASTROBAL. Um, the thing that caught me was Letitia Sedier from Stereolab guests on one of the songs. That was something I found on Bandcamp that I thought was pretty cool.
huh? I'm gonna go look them up right now. Astrobal.
Yeah, I think they're French.
Yeah.
French band.
Oh, they're on Spotify. Wait, are they on Bandcamp?
I
What's
think
the
they.
Bandcamp
I
version?
think
Oh,
they
there
were.
they are.
Yeah.
I think I just found them. Yeah, this looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll check it out. I like their album covers.
Well, I will put the link to it in the description, and the other ones that you mentioned.
Yeah, nice.
So our audience can go track that down.
Yeah, right. Totally worth listening to.
Yeah, I think so.
Highly recommended.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Should we call it a day?
All right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.